What's up, everybody? It's waba again, and I am bringing you another League Starter basic outline for a totem build in 3.3 Incursion, and let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So this is a tree for a level 80 character. It is a Hierophant utilizing Ritual of Awakening and Conviction of Power again. So it's better for solo self-found and for newer players, so you are not required to get the Uber Lab. The Uber Lab on Hierophant is actually like a really big preference thing anyway, and something that I would suggest you figuring out after you play totems for quite a bit. But totems, especially after the changes to Hierophant recently, are in a really good spot. I said this at the start of 3.2, that you could play pretty much anything as a totem character, and even a long time ago I tried to play Arc with totems before the changes to Hierophant, and I remember Rise QT was also doing this as well, and it just didn't really connect very well. But obviously patch 3.2, the addition of Shimmerons and everything else like lightning, Arc totems are really strong. But in this passive tree, again, it's level 80, really straightforward. You're going to start out, you know, coming right through Retribution. You're going to just beeline straight to Ancestral Bond. You don't necessarily need to do this, but if you're going to be leveling with something like Flame Totem, or just start using Spell Totem ASAP with any skill, I would suggest that. Let's see, what else is important to note here. When you are leveling 2, you may want to take Precision early on to get the Dexterity and a little bit of movement speed and attack and cast speed, but doesn't really matter otherwise. You're going to path through the Witch area. You're going to take Shaman's Dominion. You're going to take Shamanistic Fury. I would take Shamanistic Fury first. I would actually, early on, you just go like this. You're not going to take Shaman's Dominion until later on, once you're, you know, I'd say like level 70 plus. But grab this Jewel Socket over here. Come on down. Melding, Jewel Socket, up. Rain and Blood, Doomcast. This is something else. You will eventually take the crit multi once you have enough points, but for right now you will not take Nullification. Nullification is really good, gives you a little bit of resist, and you could see, when would you get Nullification? You get Nullification like just before you kill Kitava in Act 10. This build will operate well in standard or in hardcore, but overall this is just like the basic outline. Help Alira, etc, etc. Now I do want to talk about the skills. I put 3 in here, which will be in the link or in the description below. I put Arc in here, and Glacial Cascade, and then Frostbolt. Now keep in mind that on the tree, I actually did leave 2 of the Jewel Sockets open, because if you go Glacial Cascade, then you would be using 2 of the GC Threshold Jewels, which run anywhere from about, I want to say like 5 to 15 Chaos. It might be a little bit more at the start of the league. So, and on top of that, I actually haven't played GC Totems, so there's some differences in the links. I think you might want to use Control Destruction. You may not. What I suggest in my skill setup may not actually be optimal, but it may be as well. Physical Lightning, while it is really good, there's a unique item called Yoke of Suffering, which makes it to where all of your elemental damage can shock, so Physical Lightning is not nearly as necessary. If you want shocking, you can use that. Another thing to keep in mind if you want to use Glacial Cascade is that you will want to run a Hatred, and if you are Mind Over Matter, you should probably utilize an Essence Worm, okay? But if not, you don't have to. You can also use an Essence Worm, actually, if you run Arc, so you could run Wrath. That's something that's just as good. Arc Totems is probably going to be really strong in the upcoming event. I feel pretty confident about these links. You could obviously switch Lightning Penetration out with maybe like Elemental Focus. I would only do this on maps where mobs have a higher chance to avoid status ailments, so always level 1 on the side. Again, like all the other builds I've released recently, they're all 1910 gems, and they're only on 5 links. Frostbolt, I really like Frostbolt. I have a preference towards Frostbolt because Frostbolt does feel really good when you add the 2 threshold jewels. That gives it more projectiles. And cold damage is just like, in my opinion, the best. So, but you can't use Shimmeron with a Frostbolt build. I mean, I suppose you could, but yeah, Frostbolt is fine. But any one of these 3, Arc, Glacial Cascade, Frostbolt, this will all work. I did put an Elemental Weakness set up in here with Arcane Surge. Elemental Weakness with increased duration, faster casting could support up to a level in Arcane. It can support up to a level 11 Arcane Surge. That's why you see that in here like this. A cast with damage taken set up with Immortal Call, increased duration. You can also throw maybe a Tempest Shield in here because you can potentially use things like Wrath Pith, Rainbow Strides, and even like a Reckless to Defense. If you do that, you do lose a little bit of life. You gain a little bit of mana. I mean, it's about the same, but you get anywhere between like 40 to 50% spell block. But it also does take up, or 40 to 50% traditional block and spell block. But you do also want to use a Rune Maze as well. So that's definitely something you could look into if you feel like you could really benefit from the spell block or the block in general. But the items, pretty straightforward. The only uniques that I like put in here as like pretty standard, Wise Oak. Again, like I said in another video, one of the best flasks for elemental builds dealing hit damage. Adziri's Promise, really strong flask defensively as well as offensively. It's much better on something like Glacial Cascade because of the way extra damage works, but it is still really good. Adziri's Foible. This is an amulet that will reduce the the attribute requirements for a lot of pieces of gear, which will help you while you're leveling. You could use it as early as level 16. Gives you a boatload of mana regen, and just really solid. And you can mass corrupt these as well because they're inexpensive. In fact, sometimes you might have a hard time finding one that's not corrupted. Cloak of Defiance, you don't necessarily have to use a Cloak of Defiance, but I just threw it in here because it is a good, unique chest. You could also use a Lore Weave, which is a new unique chest piece that is always 6-socketed. It has a range for its resist. It's really good. It's just a really good chest piece, but either one would work. Also, a Belly of the Beast could work, or just a good rare chest piece would work as well. All the rares are just, I pulled directly out of here. I tuned the life down a little bit just to be as conservative as possible. Your rings, on your rings you really want to just get resist, life, mana, belt, as much life as possible. You can use a Darkness Enthroned here. Would work really well for damage at least, but you would probably get more life out of a leather belt early on. You would only really be able to compete life-wise with a leather belt once you get like the tier 1, the top tier item level 82 jewels, and they have to be rolled well as well. So yeah, I just threw really generic jewels on here, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I've leveled a lot of totem builds. You could do this as Shockwave Totem if you want. You could do this as Flame Totem. You could probably do Spark if you want. You could do, anything. Flame Blast, potentially. You could probably do, you could do a lot with this. I would probably stay away with Fire, because Fire is better off if you're using the Ignite mechanic, and I don't think that would work as well with totems. The only one downside that I definitely see to a totem build in 3.3 is with the recent changes to all of the Val skills, you just don't get the same benefit. Obviously, you can't use a Val Arc. You can't use there's not a Val Glacial Cascade, but you can't use Val Arc in this build. But what you could do is you could actually drop Ancestral Bond, and then you would change your pathing a little bit over here, and you could self-cast something if you wanted. So, that's just something to keep in mind. Let's see, anything else that I want to touch on quickly? I don't think so. I think that's pretty much it. Again, this is level 80. You have a lot of room. You can get this crit multi here. You could change your Pantheon over here to get more crit multi, over here to get more crit multi. You could come down here if you'd like and grab Blood Drinker. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, Fangs of the Viper would be good if you're a Glacial Cascade. But that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments below. Like I said, this will be in the description below. Also, do check. I will put some notes in here for people as well, just pretty much to touch on what I said, so you don't have to come back and watch this video. Although if you do, that's fine with me. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you have any suggestions. Oh, one last thing, real quick. This build, with some finagling and some working with some stuff, you could potentially use Mask of the Stitch Demon, which is a unique item that I talked about in the Cool Incursion Uniques video and also in the Cold Snap video. I think it's really, really strong, and honestly, would do pretty good, because this is definitely a build where you could easily get like 2k, 3k ES if you put some effort into it. So maybe try Mask of the Stitch Demon. If you do, let me know what you come up with. And yeah, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, put them down below, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.